and good evening, everyone. My name is Randolph,
And I am Jaydee.
and welcome to another episode of Tara Usap Tayo.
This episode is in partnership with the Coffee Concept. No coffee maker? We gotcha. Taste the quality of the Philippine coffee without using a coffee maker through the new drip coffee product brought to you by the Coffee Concept.
Brew instantly by adding hot water and enjoy the flavor of fresh roasted coffee. Perfect for personal use. Bring it in the office, when traveling, or when you just feel like having good coffee. Perfect for your caffeine fix.
But wait, there's more. Need a relaxing drink after a tiring day at work? Coffee Concept also offers all natural teas.
They offer Fuji tea that contains butterfly tea and jasmine, hibiscus sangria that contains hibiscus flower, cranberry, orange, and rose chips, and acai green tea that contains green tea, bamboo, mint, and tarragon.
You can reach Coffee Concept through Miss Karen Salonga by dialing 0915-877-2089. Again, that's 0915-877-2089.
Or you can conveniently send them a message through Facebook. You just have to type coffee concept.
But Randolph, do you know what goes perfect with coffee and tea?
What, JD?
Bread and pastries, of course.
And where can we get the perfect bread and pastry for our coffee?
I'm glad that you asked. We are proud to announce that Tara Usap Tayo has also formed another partnership with the Pancho's Lab.
Pancho's Lab offers various bread and other pastries that will go perfectly with your coffee. Some of their best sellers are the mini mango cheesecake and mini cinnamon roll.
Each product is homemade with love and perfection that ensures a soft, moist, and delicious flavor in every bite.
You can reach Pancho's Lab by dialing 0975-378-4414. Again, that's 0975-378-4414.
You can also visit Facebook and Instagram. Just type Pancho's Lab and you will find their delectable baked goods that will perfect to your tea and coffee.
Okay, so good evening, JD.
Good evening, Randolph.
So it's been a while. So again, to our viewers, due to listeners rather, due to unforeseen reasons, we were not able to post a podcast, a new podcast last Sunday. So instead, we'll be posting it today, Wednesday. So our topic for today, for this night rather, is about reinstating good moral and right conduct, or GMRC, classes in basic education. But before we go into the details of reinstating GMRC to basic ed, let's give our listeners a bit of overview on the history of GMRC in the basic education of the Philippines.
Okay, so the K to 12 program or the K to 12 curriculum was implemented in 2012. And the full implementation happened in 2018 when the first batch of the K-12 graduates or K-12 students graduated in 2018. Now, during the implementation in 2012, in 2013, the GMRC or the Good Moral and
Right.
Right Conduct was dissolved. And it was not entirely dissolved, but it was integrated with other subjects for the K-12 program. So prior to the K-12 program, the GMRC is implemented in the old curriculum. And it was just integrated to other subjects like edukasyon sa pagpapakatao and even other social science subjects. And even the, di ba?
Yes. It's also
Overall,
integrated in other subjects such as science, English, and math.
oh. So just last year, there is a bill
Yes.
submitted July 1, 2019 a bill submitted to the lower house, House Bill 609. It's an act to institutionalize good manners and uh, right conduct and character education in the current curriculum, which is the K to 12 curriculum. And just after a few weeks, July 19, 2019, it was endorsed to the Senate by Senator Mig Zubiri, Senate Bill 310. And after after almost a year,
Yes.
uh, it was already enacted
Yeah,
to
I think
Republic Act number uh,
one one four seven
11474
six. Yeah,
411
yeah. This I think this was approved or this was enacted June 25, 2020. So this is very recent. So
Yes, yes,
this law basically says that there should be a separate GMRC or good moral and right conduct subject in the basic ed. And when I say basic ed, that includes elementary and
yeah,
the high school level, junior high school.
yes. So, the Republic Act's title is an act institutionalizing good manners and right conduct and values education in the K to 12 curriculum, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. But my question, Randolph, is why did the basic education decide to create another discipline of GMRC rather than retaining it as an integration to other subjects?
Oh,
Why do you think so?
well, I guess it's because, first of all, GMRC is supposed to be taught at home by the parents. But the thing is, in a student's life or in a day of a student, most of it or most of the child's time is also spent in school. Okay, so uh, the time where parents should guide the students is limited because they spend most of their time in school. So let's say in basic education, students go to school at 7 and then goes home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then their parents are uh, also having jobs. They also go to work. Tatrabaho din sila. And sometimes, nakakauwi na sila ng gabi. So, I think the government saw that uh, GMRC being taught at home is no longer enough. So, since the school is like the second home of the students and the teachers are the second parents, the government thought that maybe baka pwede tayo as teachers na uh, tayo yung gumanap sa role ng parent to teach GMRC to students. So I think that's the reason why the government implemented this law.
Law again. But I think you also mentioned when we were just talking about this, no, that it's also because integrating it to other subjects is really difficult.
Yes. Also that uh, what the Department of Education discovered that the integration of GMRC to other subjects is not really effective because nalulunod yung GMRC because the
Oo.
teachers are more are prioritizing in achieving the set standard or the set competency. That's why sometimes the teacher no longer includes the GMRC part of the lesson because there are more focused on achieving the competency. Okay, so it's not that effective. The integration of GMRC is not that effective. Plus, I think it's also really challenging for some teachers, especially those who are teaching technical subjects, very highly technical subjects like mathematics and science, to integrate such good morals and right conduct.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it would be okay talaga no to create um another subject or a separate subject to do this para ma-focus siya. Kasi nga
Yes.
kagaya na nasabi mo, now overshadow talaga ng content, ng expected content ng subject. But I hope sana hindi pa rin matanggal yung attempt to integrate this good moral and character no sa other subjects. Now let's run through the law, the RA 11476. It's just 5 pages, no? So we encourage to our listeners to please have some time to read this because it would really
Yes.
help teachers, students, your children, no? So ano lang, I think I would suggest just to highlight of course, the section 1, it would be known as the GMRC and values education. And also, I want to go to section number 4, the institutionalization of good manners and right conduct and values education in K to 12. So it states here that it will be implemented from grades 1 to grade 6 and grade 7 to grade 10. Grades 1 to 6, it will be called GMRC, and then grades 7 to 10, it would be called values education. And values education at senior high school uh, shall be integrated in teaching of subjects in grade 11 and 12. So I think it will not be implemented in senior
Yes.
high school,
Yeah.
but it will be implemented to the junior high school and
And
elementary.
elementary level.
So what's your thought on this one, Randall?
Well, my thought about this is that since this is going to be a new subject for the basic education, let's talk about the challenges first. Uh,
Okay.
of course, uh, it would be challenging to draft another curriculum guide for
Yes,
a
yes,
separate subject. Uh, Remember, this is going to be implemented to elementary, which is grades 1 to 6, and then uh, junior high, which is 7 to 10. That is 10 years of level. Okay, that is 10 levels. And drafting and creating a new curriculum for a subject is really hard. Because remember, in the curriculum, there's no separate curriculum for just a single subject. There needs to be a vertical and horizontal alignment.
okay.
Okay. So when we say horizontal alignment, it should be aligned to other subjects. Am I right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yes,
it's supposed to be aligned with other subjects, and vertical, it should be aligned with itself. So it's very challenging to do that. Okay, especially with what we are experiencing now, where everything is in a standstill, and the department is also facing its own challenges. Kasi, di ba, we are also facing another curriculum shift when
yes.
this pandemic started, because uh, the department is also now modifying the present curriculum in order to cater on what's happening with COVID-19, which is the curriculum right now is being modified to be able to cater to online learning or studying in the house. Okay, so that's the first challenge that I see here. It would be very challenging to draft another curriculum for that subject. And then another thing is that another challenge that I see here is that it the department, or some of the divisions rather, would also need to start uh, what do you call this? Start hiring new personnel, new teaching staff to teach this subject. Okay, because there are some divisions that are having trouble with uh the count of their teachers in their schools. So that's why some divisions are some teachers who are members of other divisions have overloads. So I think yung mga schools na overloaded na yung teachers dahil konti lang sila, that would be very challenging because that's another subject, that's another load. So that's one challenge. But the good
Yeah.
thing is it would open up jobs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the good thing that that I see here. It will open up new opportunities, new items for the public school sector, and new jobs in the private school sector. Although I don't think new jobs would be very beneficial right now, since yeah, we're also facing still facing the pandemic, and private schools don't have uh, funds in hiring new personnel for this. So I think this is still postponed. I think it's the enactment or the actual implementation of this law is still postponed due to the pandemic that we are experiencing right now. And one another good thing that I can see here is that we could really guide the students. Okay, we could really guide the students. Teachers, mas matututukan nila yung estudyante na parang they are the children of the teachers, and the teachers are the parents, because we're also having character issues, because GMRC is not just about morality, it's also about character building. And one problem that I'm seeing in most of the youth is that they don't have a stable character, or they don't have a character that will benefit them in the future. Maybe because there are certain scenarios at home that that uh, that prevents them to have a solid character. Maybe they're no longer with their parents. Okay, maybe they're only living with a guardian that's not hindi yung 100% yung focus sa kanila, because the attention of the parents, I think, is a very important ingredient in building the character of the child. So for example, if the child is an orphan and he or she is only living with a relative, and the relatives focus on that child is limited, then I don't think that that child is able to, develop a good character. So I think this is one of the benefits, is that we could help those kinds of learners, those kinds of children who are having problems in terms of character building.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's really true, no? Um, I want to highlight what you mentioned a while ago, that good moral, uh, good moral, it must be built or trained at home, but it's quite difficult because of our setup before. But right now, we are all living at our houses and doing distance learning for the higher education, for the basic education. I think you'll also be doing distance learning uh, upon implementation, upon opening of the school year. But this would actually be helpful for the parents, no? For since iba-iba tayo ng bahay, iba-iba tayo ng sitwasyon, no? Hindi natin alam kung anong sitwasyon ng bata. But I hope most parents are doing their best to train their child. Now, to the teachers naman, of course, kaway-kaway po sa mga values educators natin. Of course, this is a victorious year and glorious law for our values educators. Know that values education is not just values education. No, it's about character building. And character building is really very crucial at the elementary years and junior high school years. Kasi kami sa tertiary level, um, there's an article I read that um, there's a difference between teachers in the basic ed and a teachers in university or college, that when you go to college, our role, the role of uh, instructors or professors, is just to lead the students to the fountain of knowledge. And it's up for the students on how much water or how much knowledge they're going to get. But for basic educators, you also have to build the character. And character is really, really difficult to build. Kasi pagdating po sa college, wala na pong, mahirap na pong bumali ng sungay.
Yes,
But
totoo
yeah,
yan.
that's 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 my ano, that's my take on this one. So I think it's really, really important talaga sa panahon natin ngayon, sa society natin ngayon, no? But in section 5 of the law, they also mentioned about the coverage of this values education, the overview of the coverage. I hope no it's not entirely the same as the values education or GMRC before. It's not. I hope it's not completely the same. I hope that this new implementation of GMRC is a transformative and a responsive curriculum to the changing society of being, having a good moral. So would it be okay if I read it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, coverage of values education. Section 5 of the Article 11,476. It is hereby mandated that the values education shall be an integral and essential part of the DepEd's K-12 basic education curriculum. Values education, as herein provided, shall encompass universal human, ethical, and moral values among others. It shall inculcate among our students the basic tenets of the observance of respect for oneself, others and our elders, intercultural diversity, gender equity, ecology and integrity of creation, peace and justice, obedience to the law, nationalism and global citizenship, as well as values of patience, perseverance, industry, honesty and integrity, and good faith in dealing with other human beings, along with all other universal values. Um, I think it's really, really good. The overview is really, really uh, responsive to our current society. So what's your take on this one, Randolph?
So I think the coverage of values education, which is stated here in section 5, I think it's really good because it's very holistic. Okay, so when I say holistic, it it is uh it is concerned with building good moral values, and it is also concerned with building character, great good character that would eventually help them succeed in the future. Kasi what I like about here is global citizenship and the diversity, intercultural diversity. As a nation of uh, diverse cultures, kasi 'di ba, the Philippines has a lot of cultures.
Yes.
It has a really diverse culture. I think that's really nice if we could teach students diversity, how to accept other cultures, the beliefs of other cultures. Kasi I think there's still this stigma within our society that if you're this, if you're this, if you belong in this culture, you're this. If you belong in this culture, you're this. Example, to our listener, this question, this is just an example. Okay? So, for example, they say sometimes na if you're an Ilocano, kuripot ka, ganon. And I think that builds negative character, and it builds a wall between our country and its citizens. So I think here in the diversity, I think that it would be good because we could break those kinds of mindsets na pwede nating baliin yan sa bata na ay, it doesn't mean na Ilocano siya ay kuripot siya, ganon. Because we should really learn acceptance. especially here in the global citizenship. Another thing that I noticed, that there are some of us that have prejudices in other nationalities. So I think it would be really nice if we could teach global citizenship, because we're able to establish acceptance in cultural differences between Filipinos and other
Yes.
other nations, especially since we are a member of Southeast Asian ASEAN, and the bonds of ASEAN is getting stronger than ever. And then uh, most likely magkakaroon ng chances na magkaroon tayo ng mix. Okay, we could already see it happening right now. Okay, marami ng ASEAN members of the ASEAN nations who are coming in the Philippines, and marami na ring Pilipino ang napupunta sa iba't ibang bansa ng ASEAN. So nagkakaroon na tayo ng exchange. So I think teaching global citizenship would be very nice.
Yes. Um, sobrang lawak ng values education, no? So siguro talaga ang intention ng K to 12 is to be highlighted uh, values education in all subjects, but it's difficult because of the content nga. But no, as you can see, this the coverage of the values education is really holistic, and it's very inclusive. Like, diba, they mentioned, it's stated here that encompasses universal human, ethical, and moral values. And it, I hope, it deviates from the traditional thoughts of uh, what is traditionally taught at school. And evident doon yung nabanggit mo, yung intercultural diversity, highlighting, of course, Philippines have different cultures, but the world rather has different cultures. And this will definitely lead us to understanding their culture and becoming a global citizen, diba? By inculcating respect, no, to other cultures. And of course, ecology and integrity of creation. I think this also highlights the respect to Mother Nature, to our planet, peace and justice, obedience to the law, nationalism and global citizenship is really good. And of course, gender equity. I hope that the in the curriculum guide that will be implemented or that will be crafted is that sa gender equity, hindi na natin i-limit yung gender roles. I hope ma-highlight that women and men have both um,
Equal capability.
uh, equal capability. Diba? And of course, those who have other gender preferences have
Yeah.
also equal capability to, let's not confine a certain profession or a certain talent to a certain gender.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
This is, I really think that the contents of the values education is really interesting. So to the values educators, no, good luck. Congratulations first, no, and then of course good luck in the implementation
I
of
would
this.
also just like to add uh, dun sa LGBT community. I hope that this values education would also uh, would also break certain stigmas or certain prejudices to the members or against the members of the LGBT community. Okay, because
Yes.
I think I'm not sure with the statistics. I think there's some companies where if you're an LGBT, you have less chances of getting in. So I hope that would break, okay, those prejudices. Just like what you've said, uh, I really like what you've said. I want to highlight what you said, that gender equity. I hope that it would, destroy the stigma, destroy the gender limits that society has imposed on
Yes.
us. So the
So
the the values education here, what I can assess is that it's really holistic. It talks about how people relate with other people, how a citizen should relate with the government, or rather should relate with the laws, or how to be a law-abiding citizen. And it also teaches how a person should relate to the environment. So I think if this values education would be very successful, it would uh, it would affect a lot of areas, like sociologically, environmentally. It would it would really it would really uh, affect a lot of areas in our society. Okay.
Yes. And I hope no kasi the intention of the K-12 program was to integrate it to other subjects, but because of difficulty, because these subjects also have their own identity, now overshadow yung integration ng GMRC. But of course, with the new GMRC subject, with the new GMRC course or a discipline, no, being taught in basic education, it will be identified by the students as really, really important. And let's try to let's I just want to highlight no that a values education is really, really important today because to be honest, this is my personal experience. Morality is already depleting or going down. And we need the strength of values educators to educate the youth, to educate the young ones that we have right now na it's okay na sumabay sa pagbabago ng lipunan, pero mahalaga na i-retain o panatilihin pa rin natin ang moralidad natin bilang mga tao,
Yes.
bilang mga mamamayan, no? And it's a matter of respect to culture, to gender, to of course to the elderly, but to generally to everyone, no. And yeah, I really really think I'm really looking forward to the implementation of the GMRC because it's it's a hope, no, to to the next
Generation.
generations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So Randolph, I would like to ask you, do you think the implementation of the GMRC is important?
well, based on what we've talked about, yes, it is important. Okay. It is very important that we have uh, a separate GMRC subject. However, I'm not bypassing the challenges. Okay, it's important that we have GMRC, but for it to be successful, we have to uh, kailangan natin malagpasan yung mga challenges na kaharap ng bagong implementation na to. Okay? So, kailangan lang natin ng tiyaga, determination. We should be passionate about what we're going to do about this. As educators, as curriculum developers, we should be considerate on the totality of the Filipino people. Okay, so I hope yung mga curriculum developers na gagawa ng curriculum for this subject, they should make sure that the competencies for values education would encompass everyone, not just a certain religion, not just a certain group of people, not just a certain group of culture, but everyone. Okay? Because we're not, uh, the coverage of values education where it inculcates respect, mutual respect, uh, gender equity, and such, yung mga nabanggit natin. I don't think that would be reached if values education would be biased to a certain group of people. So I hope yung gagawa ng curriculum ng values education, I hope that each competency is made sure to encompass everyone here in the Philippines. Okay, so in terms of importance, yes, but in order for its success, we need to successfully go past the challenges. How about you?
Yes. I also really think that it is very important, especially sa panahon natin ngayon, no? But of course, it is very important also in the development of the curriculum, as someone who is also teaching curriculum development, that always include the teachers in the planning, in the development and implementation and evaluation of the new GMRC curriculum. Because these teachers are your frontliners with your students. They are the one facing the characters of the students. The characters or the uh, attitudes of the students before is very different from the characters and attitudes of the students that we have now. And we really need a collective responses from these teachers, yung harap-harapan talaga nilang nakakasalamuha yung mga bata, kung paano natin i-address yung mga um, what they call this, lapses sa behavior ng mga batang ito. No? Again, we are not talking about questioning. Questioning is good. So yung attitude ng batang matanong, it's okay. But the manner of how you ask teachers. Example, if teacher is teaching something is quite not correct, or something is wrong with what teacher is teaching is wrong, there's a proper way, and there is a polite way, and there is a respectful way on how you approach it. But students now, most of them would actually respond to it differently. No, many of them, not most, but many of them would respond to it differently. So I suggest that in the planning of the curriculum for the GMRC, that the teachers who really have face-to-face interaction or online interaction with their students, no, would be included sa paggawa, kasi sila yung nakakaharap yung mga bata. Sila yung nakakaalam ng pag-uugali ng mga batang ito. And of course, no, mahalaga din na habang pinaplano ito, it should be, habang ginagawa din yung curriculum guide, it should also be inclusive, again, in different cultures. Because as Randolph have mentioned a while ago, the Philippines is a mixture of different cultures, no, across the country. So it should be inclusive. Like there's, this is an example. There is a book that, there's a textbook that I encountered in Cordillera, that the Igorots, I am an Igorot. It states at the book that the Igorots and the Aitas have almost, what do they call this, same features. And of course, some Igorots reacted on that, not because they are offended that they also have a similarity with the Aitas, but because the authors was not able to distinguish the difference of Aita and Igorots. I hope no clear po yon that Aita and Igorots are not the same. These two rich cultures are not the same. But both of them have their own identity na sana alam yon ng mga gumagawa ng libro, gumagawa ng textbook, gumagawa ng curriculum guide, to make sure that no culture will be, or no, no ethnical group would be affected by it. That's my personal statement. I was quite affected. I'm not insulted or anything, but I hope authors would familiarize themselves with the difference of present cultures. So crafting the curriculum guide would really be challenging, no, para sa atin, para sa kanila, kasi they should consider all cultures, especially that this is GMRC. Kasi there are cultures na acceptable to, pero sa culture na to hindi acceptable. How would you respond to that? I hope there are practical applications that they would include in this one. A social implication as well. Kaya I really think It is very, very important. And apart from that, no, when someone or when that student leaves the country or goes to other country, how he or she will also address the culture present to that country politely then and respectfully. Kasi iba-iba tayo. Iba-iba tayo ng kultura. Pero paano natin mapapanatili ang respeto na hindi natin natatapakan yung kultura ng iba? So I think, yeah, GMR, that's just one side, one part of the importance of GMRC.
Yeah.
But yan nga, nabanggit mo kanina doon sa overview, it's very holistic. I saw something related to culture, something related to respecting nature, something related to respecting the entire human race and other creation. It's
Yeah.
mentioned a while ago.
Okay.
So it's very,
So
very important.
so JD, what do you think are the implications to the students, to the society, if this law is successfully implemented? Okay, maybe let's do it like this. What are its implications if it's successfully implemented and if it's not successfully implemented?
Of course, the implementation of the curriculum is always charged, no, to the implementors of the curriculum, and those are the teachers. That will be dependent on the implementors of the curriculum. If it is successfully implemented, this would really result to um, making good decisions in life
Yes.
for our students. Especially if, example, you're a politician, your student becomes a politician in the future or a government official, he or she will definitely make decisions depending on the character and attitude that he or she has developed while he was young. I mean, it would really provide a big effect in the decision making. Second is if you're a scientist, in your inventions, are you going to invent it? If it would it result goodness to the society or bad, 'di ba? Parang ano lang din yan eh, example in science, technology and society. Um Knowing what is good and bad is also very important. Kasi sa STS then, and if it is implemented also in GMRC nga, kapag naging scientist yung estudyante mo, alam niya kung itutuloy niya pa ba yung pag-invento niya ng mga pag-invent niya ng mga gamit na pwedeng makasira sa nature. Pwedeng oo, pwedeng hindi, but that will be dependent on the successfulness of the implementation of GMRC. Di ba? It will provide good decision making to the students and most importantly, moral decisions. Decisions that are grounded with goodness. Diba? Kasi ako Randolph, naniniwala ako na despite of all the bad things that is happening right now, there is a lot of goodness in humans. May goodness sa atin. No? Regardless of any culture, regardless of any gender, regardless of any religion that you have, we all have innate goodness in us.
Yes.
And the successful implementation of the K to 12 of the GMRC in the K to 12 program will be dependent on the teachers. But my suggestion to the teachers of course, um, who will be teaching the values education is to serve as a model to your students. That would be uh, my my comment on how to implement the GMRC is of course be a good model to your students in making good decisions, in speaking, in your way of speaking, in your manner of speaking, in your own actions, and in the decisions that you make in life. Kaya mahirap po talaga maging values education teacher kasi ikaw yung titingnan ng bata eh.
Yeah.
Example, pag si math teacher or si social science teacher or si science teacher nagalit, nagsabi ng iba, maiisip ng bata, ay okay lang yan. Pero pag si values teacher, nagsabi ng hindi maganda, pag-uusapan yan ng mga bata.
Totoo.
Bakit?
Malaking issue
Kasi
yan.
malaking issue yon. Kaya mahirap po talaga maging values educator. No? Kasi you are inculcating character. Yung content kasi, kayang-kayang ituro. Mahirap siya ituro because kailangan alam mo yung content. No? Character building is really different. Pasok ng bata, iba, may ugat, may buhay yan sa bahay nila. How will you, it's a very challenging part for the teachers. Paano mo i-implement yung goodness sa kanya kung yung goodness na yun ay hindi good sa bahay nila? Or hindi good sa society na meron sila. Diba? It will be really, really be challenging. But a successful implementation of GMRC would definitely lead to good leadership to our government officials in the future, good scientists in decision making in their inventions, diba? Good citizens, diba? So that will really, really lead to goodness of our country and the world at large, diba? Kasi syempre may iba dyan pupunta na din sa ibang bansa at bit nila ang identity ng Filipinos, that Filipinos really have good moral characters, diba? So it would really affect not just a society, but the entire world
Yes.
of the identity of being a Filipino. And but apart from that, of being a human, the on how Filipinos sees the importance of being a human, pagiging tao, na nakakalimutan na ngayon, na ipapaalala ng GMRC. Diba? So I really think it would be really successful. It will be really, really good if it is implemented successfully. But if it is not successfully implemented, of course, ibang usapan na din yun. I mean, again, as I have mentioned, the success of the implementation of the curriculum is dependent on the teachers. Kahit gaano kaganda ang curriculum guide, ang plano, kapag hindi na-implement ni teacher, wala rin. So please, to our values educators, implement this really, really good. It will be very, very challenging for you guys kasi nasa inyo na yung pinaka-major ng future ng ating bansa. Kasi content can be taught kasi universal naman siya. Example, you teach science here, pagpunta mo sa ibang bansa, yun pa rin naman yung science na tinuturo. No, but for values education, how will you be good? If you're good here, how will you still be good in other place? How will you deal with that? It will be really, really be challenging. So if it's not successfully implemented, I cannot tell. But I hope ma-implement siya successfully. And of course, my regards to our all values educators. More power to you guys. Ayun lang siguro. Ikaw?
Okay. So my take on this, if it's implemented successfully, I think one of the things that would be very beneficial, or one of the thing that will benefit our society, is that if this values education is implemented properly, we are going to break barriers that are separating us. Okay, what do I mean by barriers? Barriers between genders, barriers between religion, barriers between culture. Okay, because I think that's one of the problems why our country is not united as we want it to be, is because there are barriers that are separating us. And just to add in the success of implementation, I think another thing that would make this values education be more successful is that if it is implemented in a non-biased manner. Okay? If the teacher is not biased towards a certain set of values. Because just like what you said earlier, there are times that the values of this group is no longer good to the values of the other group. So I think teachers or the implementers should be non-biased in order to break those barriers. Okay, so that's the only thing that I could say. If this values education is very successful, we are able to break barriers. However, if, for example, uh, it's not implemented properly, so let's say there are biases in the ways of it is implemented, I think the opposite will happen. Instead of breaking the barriers, it would just strengthen the barriers and prejudices against other cultures, other humans, and other genders. So, yun yung ayaw nating mangyari. Okay? That's why we had this values education law is for us to break those barriers, for us to develop good character, for us to develop a set of good morals. But if it's, I think this is a double-edged sword. So I think the department should be very uh, careful, or kailangan matyaga nilang tinitignan, or they should really look into how this is implemented, because if it's not implemented properly, all of it would just turn around. Instead of uh reaching our goals where we break barriers, develop good moral, develop good character, the opposite would happen, and that would not be good. Okay, so I think message then to the heads of different educational institutions. I hope we would not treat values education as just a minor subject, because based on the implications, it is it it is the implication of it goes for generations. It affects the entire country. It affects an entire society for a large span of generation. So I hope na yung values education would be taken seriously. It would be taken heavily. Kasi I think the future of the country, uh, this could be a turning point for the future of the country, for the future leaders of the country. So the education sector, or the Department of Education, should really, uh, let's say, control the quality on how it's implemented. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree with you. No, it will definitely break barriers. It would destroy barriers. No, and I really, really am looking up to the values educators right now on how they are going to implement this. But before we end, I'd like to share a word from the book Education by E.G. Ellen G. White, that true education does not ignore the value of scientific knowledge or literary acquirements, but above information, it values power. Above power, goodness. Above intellectual acquirements is character. The world does not so much need men and women of great intellect as of noble character. It needs men and women in whom ability is controlled by steadfast principles. So that would be my take on the importance of character building. No. So the role of I'm looking at GMRC as a very, very big leap in the character building of our students. Because above all the intellect that we can gain is a character that can be created, is a character that we have. And I believe that the various educators are major contributors in the character building of the students. Although all teachers, all parents, no, kasi nga it takes a village to raise a child, di ba? But the values educators have more advantage because tinuturo nila, 'di ba? We don't know kung ano nga bang metric system ang gagamitin nila dito, kung anong rating scale ang gagamitin nila for values education. Kung ito ba ay same lang din ng 1 to 1 ng 100 ng percentile, we don't know, but I hope the students will value character more than intellect, will value goodness more than power. So that would be my take on the reenactment of values education. So I'm very, very excited for the values educators, for the values education, and for our future students.
Yes, I think this shows hope for our future. It shows hope for the development of our country. Okay. So do you have anything more to add? Okay. So I think that's it. That ends our podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed our talk about the subject matter. And I hope you are able to form realizations, reflections, and even your own opinions regarding this matter. Okay, and we would like to hear from you on what you've learned in our podcast, on what you felt. Okay, so please feel uh, please feel free to voice out your opinions about this. You could message us or you could reach us when however you like. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of our podcast. Again,
Thank
good
you.
evening, JD,
Good evening, Randolph.
and good evening, everyone. Okay,
Bye.
goodbye.
Bye, guys.